The role of the business analyst in Agile has been often misunderstood, and I think it's been evolving over time as people start to understand it better. Some teams initially thought we're Agile, so we don't need a business analyst. Then they found out they were working on the wrong activities. Many teams then got a business analyst to try and do what they did in a traditional world and found it wasn't working in Agile. After that, I found a lot of business analysts were really doing the work of a product owner in disguise. They weren't so much analysing as giving opinions and people were listening to them. But now as people get more mature, I think the role of the business analyst is becoming clearer. It's to really understand the value of what we're working on and applying tools and techniques to flush out information from people and from investigations to make sure the team are working on the right thing. It's not done up front as much as continuously through the whole project. So the difference is that there's no clear templates, there's no clear BA phase. In a modern project, including Agile, the analysis goes continuously. It's not done by one person, and the BA is really facilitating the group to do their analysis and understanding and learning. Whether there are BAs in an Agile project or not seems to vary according to the industry. In some organisations, they're really doing pure web development with user research people and with web analytics. I find in those areas there are people doing analysis but not a BA. A lot of big organisations are looking at processes. A lot of big organisations are integrating with other areas. In those areas, I find almost always there's business analysts working there. It's always interesting asking what the responsibilities of a BA are. A lot of people misunderstand the BA as a person who takes dictation. In an Agile team like any other, I think the responsibilities of the BA are to facilitate good communication and a shared understanding of things among the team and among their stakeholders. In some organisations, that's quite a specific full-time job. In others, there's very little guidance on the responsibilities. But I think the business analyst's real responsibility is to make sure that different stakeholders have a voice and to make sure the team actually understands what it's working on. What value does a BA provide? A good business analyst is a bit like a good waiter. If you go to dinner with a bad waiter, you certainly know you've had one. If you have a good waiter, you barely notice them. And it's only when you don't have a waiter that you suddenly realise what they did. The value of a good business analyst isn't the ability to write down or record stories or requirements. It's to make sure that people understand the background of what they're doing and facilitating a process so people can do the thinking. So the business analyst doesn't replace the thinking of other team members. They bring out the best thinking among the team and their stakeholders. So in some teams, people get confused between a BA, who they think is a subject matter expert, and a product owner, who they think is a subject matter expert. But neither is actually meant to be the expert. The product owner is the one who makes informed decisions. The team collaborate, they come to conclusions, but at the end of the day, the product owner is the one who decides, should we do A, should we do B, what order should we do them in? The Agile BA facilitates and helps with this, but the main focus of the Agile BA is collaboration and analysis to make sure that the right decisions are made. So the BA makes sure that people have a say in what's going on, that people understand the impact of what they're doing, and to get to the root cause of things so the team have the right discussions. So the BA helps people have the right discussions and the product owner helps people come to the right conclusions. So people sometimes ask, how does a BA gather requirements in an Agile environment? I think a better question is how they can gather good requirements in one go up front in a project. If you ask people what they need, they can only ever guess until they either get some feedback from you or they see it in action. In an Agile project, the main challenge is not gathering the requirements, it's people recognising the need and the value to investigate the requirements rather than act on their perception. So what the BA has to do is facilitate good constructive conversations among people, but also get into root cause analysis, always asking why, always asking what's the impact, and making sure that others get to investigate things too. So the way of gathering requirements in an Agile environment is often easier because you've got more information to go out with. And most conversations are meant to be talking and listening. The BA now has information to take to business people and can bring information back in better context, in smaller bites, and people can understand that better. But the BA has to actually force people to understand that conversations take time. A lot of people see Agile as an excuse to not think and to move too quickly. Those teams tend to get into trouble fairly quickly. So the BA's main job is to champion and explore the opportunity to find out needs, validate them and explore their impact. So a lot of people think a story and a requirement are the same thing, and since BAs mistakenly are seen as writing requirements, they end up writing a whole bunch of stories. But a story is not quite the same as a requirement. A need is always there, whether you capture it in a requirement or any other way. A story is a hypothesis to be tested by the team or a promise to get to something. So the story focuses on who wants something and why. It includes the questions a business analyst or a product owner typically asks. Who wants this? When do they want this? Why do they want this? And as we get to build it, how would you know if it was right or not? So the story is a conversation about requirements, and a story is a hypothesis that we believe this is the requirement and that we're going to test that hypothesis. We word it in a specific way so that we're always aware that it's a hypothesis we haven't proven and that we therefore don't need the detail until we get to it. So I guess the key difference is a requirement, however you capture it, is there or it evolves. A story is an ongoing conversation to explore the questions we ask about requirements. Who wants it? When do they want it? How important is it? How hard is it? How would we build it? But it's not a one-off answer. It's a series of conversations and tests. So I've encountered a few teams who like to do Agile, but they don't really understand the concept of running an experiment or performing a sprint. And they do a series of 400 sprints at the beginning to get their requirements right, and then 200 sprints to build something, which is not an Agile project. I've seen other teams who mistake activity for progress, and they believe as long as they're busy, then they must be doing good work. The challenge for the business analyst is that good Agile projects are not about speed. They're about clear learning from mistakes and clear learning from analysis. So the BA's job is not so much to slow the team down or to speed them up. It's to make sure that the team have concrete things to work on and, more importantly, concrete questions to ask. So the team learn quickly from the work they're doing. So the BA's real job is to slow down the rush in a project to focus on increasing the speed of learning rather than the speed of activity. I'm always unsure about the future for BAs because a lot of people don't understand what they are. They think they're a subject matter expert, in which case it's a bit confusing for business analysts because expertise is often being underrated or replaced with big data, data analysis, user experience. I think the future for business analysts is that they're going to be getting more and more, not just breaking work down to give to a team, but helping the team build ongoing knowledge that they can refer to later. So I think the role is changing. I think it's opening up so that a BA can become a user experience person, a data analyst. They can use a whole bunch of new tools, but more importantly, they're stopping just focusing on requirements and focusing on what knowledge do we need to provide to stakeholders, what knowledge do we as a team need later, and of course, what knowledge do we need right now. So they're becoming less interviewers and dictation people and becoming more strategic knowledge managers. That's what I'm seeing happen.